Hi everyone, happy Friday. This week I had to read for our Jigsaw Testing, Teaching, Learning, Who's in Charge. This specific article had to talked about testing and its effectiveness and whether or not it's truly doing its job. And can learning and teaching be put together and put first before teaching to the test? And one of the things the article states is that all of this testing is actually works against the educational imperatives of our time. They discuss three parts of the American story behind testing. The first one is selection, how it sorts students into programs, then guiding learning and informing teaching, which is supposed to help us inform where we're going to put the kids and what we're going to teach the kids, and then public management about evaluating how schools and school systems are successful. So when it came to selection, it was actually originated, sorry, the dog's making noise, originated in France by a psychologist named Alfred Binet. And he created a sorting machine that helped determine which students should learn where based on their skill sets. And then Stern and Thurman created the IQ test by dividing a student's mental age by their actual age. And eventually this was actually used in the military to determine how well potential candidates would do when it came to learning such things in new candidates would learn while being trained. And then for section B, guiding learning, we come back to Thorndike, and one of his things that he did was put animals in a maze, and he reasoned that if the test could be built to measure exactly which item of knowledge students had learned, the information could be used to prescribe what should be taught and in what order. And also that knowledge is made up of bits of pieces of information. This actually, he really talked about direct instruction and targeted practices, and that those things work best. And his thought process about how students should learn actually helped shape curriculum for many, many years. And then achievement tests, he noted that, and we've seen this to this day, can be linked to the socioeconomic status. Students who had more money and more access to things did well on tests, whereas students who had less access did poorer on tests. And then all of Thorndike's testing actually eventually led to the SAT test being created due to students going to go to college. And then finally, for the last section, when it comes to public management, again, that's evaluating how schools and school systems are doing. The early developers of the psychometrics in the U.S. Did not have in mind the use of tests to compare the effectiveness of institutions, yet today the goal is to educate everyone, which then we have to determine how well schools are doing and performing is key uses of assessment in America. So now we have to do it to assess how well schools are doing, if they're being effective. And it goes from principals evaluating using test scores to evaluate students all the way to school district leaders looking at individual schools. A little fun fact that I also found was that there was no national tests before 1969. But due to the absences of these tests, test scores, they created these tests because they felt as though schools may be hiding behind their failures, and this would allow those failures to come to light. And then it finally discussed the problem with standardized testing, and that the test does not model what we want students to learn. And I think a lot of us feel that way about standardized tests. I understand the need for standardized tests because it does give us data to help drive our instruction, but at the same time, teaching to the test, are we really truly teaching what we want the kids to know? And then testing is dividing education away from meaningful learning. So I think one of the things that they were really trying to express here is that our students, yes, they're learning, but is it meaningful? Like we want them to learn higher level thinking, and like the PSSAs are based on that, but it's all about teaching to the test, teaching to the test, teaching to the test. And there are things outside of the test the students need to learn that we aren't teaching because we're so stuck in that rut of teaching to the tests that we forget about the individual student. And another fun fact is that in the 13 years of schooling that students take, so from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, students can take upwards, if not more than, 17 standardized tests. So it's test. So that's my reflection for this article. I hope you enjoyed this information, and if you have any questions, shoot them my way. Thanks.